Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to ChristianPodcast.com. Another awesome episode. I'm Beto. I'm here with my wife, Millie, and our friend, Neil. And today we're going to talk about the table. And Neil, tell us a little bit of what's on your heart.
Oh, yeah. We're going to talk about the table of the Lord and how being invited to the table, sitting at the table, is a place of belonging. It's a lot more than just a shared meal together. It's a place where the presence of God is rich and we can experience God's presence in a new way.
But I think it's so cool because now we know you a little bit more. You know us a little bit more. You've been coach to our son for 2 years, and now our incoming son to the school Pacifica where you're a coach at. And that's awesome. And it's so cool. Like, we could just talk about like how blessed we are by, our kids being at Pacifica and all the opportunities that God has opened. But many of those opportunities, like, really through people like you, people that care. So I think you're an answer to our prayers in the way that you have poured into our son. And in general, I think you're a guy that's always giving and maybe seeing like where you can invest in people, and that's so cool, and maybe even being a coach, like you really care as a coach, like how to, bring the best out of your team. So I think that's awesome, so high praise to Pacifica and to you and the work you're doing.
Thank you.
And today, this is going to be kind of like a spirit-led conversation, So what's stirring in your heart, man?
There's a lot. I mean, to your point, I think being invested in families and watching parents and teenagers and the navigation thereof from afar is wild to watch and witness. One of the biggest things stirring on my heart has been the last year of me walking through my own family situation and looking at how our families shape us, how our childhood shape us. And one of the things in the book that I've been reading with Joseph is there's a large portion of it that's dedicated to wounds and the wounds that you get from your parents that shape you into being a man. And he had a really hard time, this is more praise to you, but he had a really hard time identifying a wound because obviously he's blessed to have two incredible parents. And I don't want to share too much from his side, but one of the things he said is, and he brings this up a lot, is there's so much about your guys' story that he knows has been challenging that he doesn't really know. And he also always talks about how he feels like my life is a mystery because there's so much he doesn't know. And I feel like in walking with young people, one of the biggest things I've started to realize is how deeply curious they are to know all the hidden parts of our lives. And, in my role, it's challenging because I hesitate sometimes of what to share as a coach. But I think it is fascinating to watch. Like, they're asking these questions because they're in very formative years of developing and walking through all sorts of changes and development. But I think there's something really unique about, and maybe this is the direction we go, but of being known and allowing people to see the hidden parts of our lives, because I think that's sometimes where maybe God will work the most. And I've wrestled with that so much because I like to just keep myself even peeled. Nobody knows what's going on. But I've noticed that young people are craving for more than that. And they want to know the deeper things, and they want to know the hard stuff and what that looks like, to be honest and share hard things and even acknowledge where you're at in your walk with Christ. Because from the outside, they like look and they're like, okay, your walk with Christ is perfect. To your point, like, this is the season you get to show them if you're a Christian. And I think that is a very real thing that we could unpack that.
I think authenticity and intimate relationships. It's like as a human beings, that's what we want, right? That's why I think they're curious because they're saying, okay, if you're my friend, I want to know you. You know, I want to have that intimacy where I know, you know, and that happened to me when I hanging out with someone for 7 years and I found out things about her. Like, oh my gosh, and I was her best friend and I never knew how else she lied to me. Because when you hide information, it's like a lying for me, you know? So like that hurts my heart because I thought was not secrets on our friendship, on our relationship. It's like, I remember one friend telling me, oh, my husband is so mad at me because he just found out that I use Botox on my lips. He can't believe that, but why I need to tell him everything? And inside, like, it's something that we'll share with Beto. You know, they've been married for 2 years and he don't know nothing. And I know, I get it. Like, the world tells you to be, ¿cómo se dice? To be, like, to have your own money and don't share with your husband. Or, like, all the wrong, independent, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like, hiding information is like lying too.
Yeah.
So you're saying you're not going to lie?
I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
I'll be honest.
I'll be honest.
Ask me anything. Yeah, I think, and that maybe that. I don't know if you saw my Instagram note from last night.
No.
But one of the biggest things, and I've been wrestling through Psalms 23, but one of the biggest things I feel like has been unique for me in this season is experiencing God in the most ordinary, small places. And one of the things that's been hitting me the most is being around a dinner table or getting breakfast with your son, that for some reason is where I find God the most in this season. And I think part of it is the fact that we were designed to live in community and do life together. And there's something about what the thought that I've been wrestling through is there's something about the table that I feel the hospitality of Jesus the most. And of course, a lot of that I think is connected to where I'm at personally with family. But it's like an area where God's offered some sort of healing and life in just simply doing life together. Because I'm the type to just plow forward, keep going, never slow down, keep myself busy. My brother and I laugh about this all the time because we work our butts off to stay busy. But then the moments I slow down and have dinner with these families, I mean, I was just at your house for dinner. There's like a sweetness to God's presence there that I'm not finding in other places. And I think it's really unique. And it's just like, I feel like we rely so much on like, I want to experience God at church. I want to go to this conference. I want to listen to a podcast, right? And all of those things are great. Like I encounter Jesus on a lot of runs listening to podcasts in my headphones. I just turn a podcast on and I encounter God. But it's like in the most unexpected way, I feel like God's been showing up at the dinner table. And I don't know if you guys do family dinner every night.
We try to, yeah.
Yeah. But that's been something really sweet of just seeing Jesus in like the most ordinary way, even though it's like, it's a weird tension between it's an area of pain, but it's also an area of like this beautiful place of healing. Yeah.
So what are you saying when you say the table is a place of healing as it relates to your family? Is it like it's something you didn't experience with your family, so at the table with our family or whatever family is like, oh, maybe that's what I didn't have, but now I'm experiencing it, or what how is it healing?
Yeah, I'm gonna try not to get emotional, but
I have tissues.
if you see me get up, that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you guys know a little bit about my situation with thanks.
He's bringing that for me. I know.
We all gonna need them.
I mean, I come from a harder family dynamic. You know, it's always been, it's hard because all of us view it in different ways. I think I've probably internalized a lot more pain of growing up, of my older brother being super violent. I had a stepdad who has his own challenges, and I would say I've never really been fathered by him. Mom was kind of an emotional roller coaster growing up of all the attention was always on my older brother. So there's already like a lot of pain because there was so much abuse per se growing up, whether it was physical, verbal, emotional, watching my family struggle with alcohol abuse. And I worked through a lot of that in my early 20s. I mean, I'm only 26, but when I first moved out here, joining circuit riders and going through YWAM and walking with mentors, I feel like I worked through so much of that to get to a place of loving my family, understanding and appreciating my story. And then in 2024, I think it was 2024, no, it was 2025 track season. I got a phone call from my parents that they messed up, they committed a crime, and they were both going away. And that just really broke my family. And all of a sudden, I kind of started slipping back to the bitterness, the pain, the grief. I mean, the team could probably testify to this, that my first season as track coach was rough. And there was many moments I apologized to them because I was angry, but not at them because they were doing nothing wrong. I was just angry because I was wrestling with the brokenness of my family. So over the last year, my family has been walking through that. And I guess to answer your question, where I feel like I'm at feels like everything in one sense has been taken away. So I've always been independent, doing life on my own, not feeling super connected to family. And then all of a sudden, my family blows up, and it's just even more so. So I used to be able to FaceTime mom and just talk about life, and then that was taken away. My dad and I already barely talk. My oldest brother and I barely talk. And Malachi and I, which is my middle brother, we talk, and we've gotten a lot closer. But it almost feels like that's the only family. And we talk about this all the time, like we've got each other. And of course it's hard because I'm out here all alone. So I'm not alone, but my family is all on the East Coast. So it's been this huge area of just wrestling with not feeling like I have a family at this point. And then slowly I've just been watching God do these little things of like, you guys inviting me into your home is a place where, yeah, it feels like all of a sudden the thing that I'm missing, God's generously giving me through you guys, inviting me into your table or inviting me to watch the World Cup. Or same thing with the Heralds or the Bichet family of just like inviting me, giving me a seat at the table is like almost a reminder of like, I don't feel like I have family. But then all of a sudden I'm seated at tables with families and grieving what I don't have while also experiencing what God's giving me, if that makes sense. And Joseph and I have talked through this a lot as well, just because we've been reading the book together. Of just like in many ways, and this feels unconventional because I'm his coach, but in many ways, Joseph, and I share this publicly because him and I have talked about it, but Joseph almost feels like a gift from God of filling a role as a brother that I've never had. So now, Malachi and I have talked about this all the time. Like, there's so many days where, because Joseph and I are so close, when it comes to family, I feel like I got Joseph and my brother Malachi, and that's family to me. And it's a gift, and it's also really challenging. But that's kind of the gist of being invited to a table has been a gift from God. And it seems so random, but it also makes so much sense.
Wow.
Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah.
Because I can see my son as like, who's talking? Neil? You know, he acts like you now. Even do some faces like you. It's like, and I see his behavior with his friends, and like, oh my gosh, they see him like another coach, like the way he talks to his friends, and like correcting them or just giving them instructions.
Yeah.
It's so fun. It's so fun to see. You know, like the other day he left without telling us where he will go with you, and I honestly fake it. Like I was mad at him, but I was not mad because I know that I feel comfortable, and I'm so thankful that he have an excellent coach, but he have a friend, really friend, really, that I know that you care for my son. So that is a blessing, Neil, because my son was lonely for so many years.
Yeah.
Even he asked, like, Mommy, what we are doing here? Can we go back to Mexico? I feel like I'm stuck here because my Spanish is not that great. And I can imagine going to school there because that was the only thing, right? My Spanish is not good. But he was like doing plans in his head, like looking to the probability to move to Mexico because we have family there, right? He's like, probably he was thinking I can live with my aunt, so I can live with my grandpa. Like, I don't know what he was thinking, but he suffered because somehow he felt lonely too. So he's coming to Pacifica, and I see him happy again, and that changed my whole family. To see my son happy was huge.
Yeah.
Huge. So God knew since the beginning.
Yeah. And that's the wild thing is that, and I feel like this is something that I've been learning, is God will place you around certain people for a certain reason. And it doesn't always make sense. And I went on a walk with a mentor the other day, and we were talking about like whoever is present in your life in the moment, maybe it's just a gift from God. And sometimes we want like, oh, I want time with this friend, or I want to be with this mentor, or I want to sit with this person. And that's not always available, but who is right in front of you? Because maybe that's what God's asking you to do, actually. I mean, I would even say, like, look, Elliot just went on family vacation with you. And one of the things that I told Joseph was, like, who's right in front of you right now? Like, your buddies all have jobs and they're working. You can't hang out with them. Who is in front of you? And all of a sudden, Elliot's on vacation with you, you know? And I think it's a wild gift of just, okay, who is in front of me right now? And what is God doing in that space? How can I experience God through these people? Because a lot of times I think it's ways we don't fully expect. And it's just, I mean, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago when I had breakfast with Joseph when he didn't tell you where he was going. And I asked him if he feels any pressure, or, because we've talked a lot about through the book, I said, does it make you feel pressure that we're so close or we have such a deep friendship? And he said, no, it just makes sense. It makes more sense of why this is from God. And it's like, okay, thinking in that framework of like who is in front of you, maybe that's what God wants in that season. And maybe there's a specific reason to it. And it all goes back to, I think, what you said in the beginning of like, we're supposed to do life together. We're designed for community. And I think it's so easy to hop around or not fully plant or want this or want that and not fully digest what's just in front of you. Because for me, I could keep plowing forward and just keep pouring out, keep working, keep coaching, and never slow down. But I mean, even back to the Psalms 23, like there's so much about slowing down and learning to just receive, which is really hard for me to do. But just receive, slow down, and share a meal with somebody. Like that's where I feel like the heart of Jesus is shown more than sometimes. I'm not saying church is bad, but sometimes going to church, like, it's a worship service, you experience God, but then a shared meal, breaking bread together, there's something different about that. At least in this season for me, that I feel like I've seen Jesus more.
Wow. No, like everything is like moving, like spinning on my head, man. Like it's so much that you're saying that makes a lot of sense. And especially, like I see it through the lens of, like right now, we're in a conversation at the podcast, right? And a lot of conversations I've had for like during the podcast time, you know, like are passing through my mind. Like I remember one specifically with a pastor author named, what's his name? I forgot right now. But he had a book that's called The Rings of Fire. So it was talking about what the church was going to experience in the future, like all the volcanic things that are coming against the church. And this was written like in 2019. And he was in the book, he was basically predicting COVID. He's like, oh, maybe one day, you know, we need to be aware of viruses and stuff like that. And then lo and behold, you know, like next year is like, wow. So anyways, I had him on the podcast. It was one of my early episodes. And at the end, you know, he was saying, hey, you should call your podcast. He said Sobra Mesa, which means like staying at, no, he said Sobra Mesa. Oh. He said Sobre Mesa. I can't remember exactly, maybe because Spanish people call it Sobra Mesa or something like that. But he was saying, Leonard Sweet, that's his name. But he was saying how the Latino culture likes to stay at the table after a meal, you know, and we kind of like just experienced that. Like yesterday, we went to a meal here in we'll just say with people from our church, and it was like, okay, after the meal, everybody's gone. I was like, oh wow, no time for Sobra Mesa, you know, like at all. So that was a little strange, but not unexpected, because now we've learned to experience that all the time. Yeah, we know the culture.
It's like you eat and you left.
You leave,
like,
yeah.
Why everybody's like, even when we invite you guys to watch the soccer, I was not expecting like the soccer finish and everybody left.
Yeah.
Where are you leaving? Stay. We can, you know, the after party or you name it. Like we want you.
It's like the Sobra
Why
Mesa.
you're leaving?
So
earlier.
Those ideas are kind of like going through my mind, because I feel like when I started the podcast, I was like part of what we were doing is like, okay, yeah, the podcast is our thing and our dream and all of that. But more than anything, I was curious, you know, so like you were saying, I had questions.
Yeah.
And in a sense, I saw the church as a whole. I'm like, I wonder if I can talk to people that are part of the church as a whole. You know, that's why to me, like the podcast was always like, maybe like a little bit of a grandiose idea. Like, oh, it's a Christian podcast, like the global Christian podcast or something like that. But in the middle of like talking to all these people, I started like getting all the glimpses of like, oh, maybe the kingdom of God is like this, or, you know, just from different vantage points. And one of them is like the table it's like an epicenter of what God is doing, you know, and there's so many things in the Bible that point back to like, I mean, the idea of partaking of the bread and the wine, that was done at a table with the disciples. And not only that, that's the moment when God says, or Jesus says to the disciples, you're not going to be just my servants. Now you're going to be friends. So to me, that just blows my mind, because I feel like the point you're saying, and basically like to summarize, like everything I've learned, I think comes down to what you're saying right now. Everything I've learned, like if the church means anything, it means like getting together, breaking bread together, and forming friendships that mean something for the kingdom. You know, and I think that's what God did. And the other thing I love is that with God is so simple, like the idea of a table, anybody can understand in any culture. Like there's no like, oh yeah, you gotta, I mean, people will put their own flavor to it. But there's nothing crazy to it, you know, like whatever is in front of you, whatever meal, just share it. That's it. You know, and I feel like we Mexicans, we always say where one can eat, two can eat. Where five can eat, six can eat. Like there's always room for like one more. And you see the miracles of Jesus, like 5,000 people come and they are all fed.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh wow. So it's almost like wherever there's a gathering of like around, maybe it wasn't a table, you know, when Jesus did the miracle, but it's like that idea of like God never rounds out. So even if a table will bring you together, like trust God for his provision. And sometimes the provision, like the meal, it's more like the spiritual meal rather than what you're eating, right? So in a sense, that's what you're saying. Like what you have been experiencing in these table gatherings, it's like soothing to your soul. It's healing, and it's like the meal God is providing for you. And that's something that we've also experienced like as immigrants. I feel like you leave your home behind and there's so much that you leave that you need to relearn how to sit at a table again with different people, you know, and that it's a little bit hard.
I'm thinking back 2015 and we were living here in Costa Mesa. We were renting some departments. And Beto was working on construction site, but I remember his boss will call him. And some days he never called. We always expecting that call to see if Beto is going to work or not. So we have no money to pay for food, only to pay the rent. So it was hard times, you know, because how all our money goes to rent, and the most important thing, we don't have money to buy food. And because, you know, this, thanks God for this country, and they help a lot, but because we don't have a social security number, we don't receive the whole help, right? So they will help with little. So I have no other choice than just look around for places where I can receive free food. And I will take my kids and the kids of other families, and I will bring them to Soup Kitchen, which is a place for homeless. And Joseph, just a year ago, he found out that that was not like a regular buffet. He's like, oh my gosh, Mom, I can't believe that you brought me to a homeless place. I never told him, and I was not trying to hide anything. It's just like, I was acting normal, right? Like, this is what we need to do, and it was a buffet.
Yeah.
Then we receive a hot meal, and they give us bread, good bread, you know, because all the markets here around, they go and they donate the bread. So it's like good bread.
Yeah.
And I was bringing bread home, and also I always bring more, so give to my neighbors. So it's just not for me, it was for my neighbors too. So it was a blessing. And it's something so beautiful because we were sitting with homeless people. Neil, you never knew who is these people, right? Why they ended up there. And it was beautiful. The experience, they always treat me good. My kids were having so much fun. I always told them, like, one day I'm going to come back and give back and donate my time or do something, right? But then now, God put me on different tables. Once we went to Pacifica to an event, and they brought their, like, or una orquesta, like instrumental. Oh boy, I closed my eyes and I was just around of rich people because for some reason we decide to donate to the school, be in debt because we use our credit card knowing that God will give us that money back. But just we think like, oh my gosh, Pacifica is doing so much and we don't have money to give, but let's do this. And so, well, we ended up on this circle with donors. The meal was for the donors, right? And I'm looking around and I feel great to be part of that table. And I remember was when they assassinated to Charlie Kirk.
Oh yeah.
So people was for the first time, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm a Christian. and I feel bad what happened to him. So somehow it was like an awakening for some Christians. And for me, I've been, so close to God. My life is a miracle. So I was like, okay, this testimony of what happened is doing some good for some people, right? But I remember that day, I closed my eyes and I listened to the music and I I saw like my life on a movie. And I cry and cry and cry. And like, oh my gosh, I felt the Spirit and I felt the love of God. And the beauty is all kind of tables that God brought me, to telling me like, God cares for the poor. God cares for the rich. And at the end of the day, I always tell people, we just need God. We all need Jesus. Either you're poor or you're rich. We are His creation. So I'm just so thankful that God is giving all this experience, knowing who I am in Jesus, so I can be with the homeless or I can be with the rich. So it's the kingdom of God.
Yeah. And I think one of which I would have to dive more into the scriptures, so hold this lightly theologically. But I think throughout the Gospels, a lot of ministry is done at tables. I mean, the breaking of the bread with the disciples, or he goes into the home of Zacchaeus and spends the night with him. I just think a lot of times, and it's crazy because I've said so many times, I've preached so many messages about how Jesus would go into homes and dine with sinners, and yet those are the same people that betrayed him. But it's just crazy to think, like, for some reason it's becoming more alive in this season of there's something about the table where the presence of God is so rich at. And I think to your point, like, there's so much life shared there, even if it's not fully said. You could have someone there who's poor, someone there who's rich, or someone struggling, someone super joyful. And yet I think one of the things I wrote last night is like the table is full of chaos, but it's also full of love and life, and it's rich in fellowship. And you just get to sit there and take part of it and experience God in life with other people. And it's just it's so fascinating to me. Because I think one of the things I've wrestled with so much in this season is no matter what I do, for some reason, I feel super empty. So one of the things I've been wrestling with God in is like, no matter how the day went, if something really good happened, if coaching is going super well, if work was really good, no matter how much good there is, for some reason, I am in this place of like, okay, I feel really empty for some reason. And part of it is that I output so much and I don't take a lot in. But been wrestling through, okay, I feel super empty. And for some reason, the one place that, although it only lasts a little bit, the one place I feel full is if I'm having a meal with somebody. And if I'm at a table or whatever that looks like. It doesn't even have to be a meal, just sitting across from someone at a table, not having to worry about anything else. Which, I mean, to your point, again, it's not about the meal. It's a place of belonging, a place of friendship, a place of life, and ultimately a place where I feel like God's presence is unleashed and the kingdom of God is rich. So it's just been really cool to be a part of that and experience that, because it's not even something I've asked for. I mean, I've never asked you to come over for dinner, but you guys have always invited me, or vice versa with other families. And it's just been really, really unique and experiencing God in that way. Because I feel like sometimes the things God does, we just don't fully understand or realize.
Yeah.
So
it's so good that you were talking about Psalm 23, and I hope we can read it too. But when I went to Mount Whitney last year with the boys, it was so cool because as we were hiking up, I saw this little lake. It's called Mirror Lake on the way to Mount Whitney. And very small lake, but then around it there was grass. And I remember as we were coming down, I'm like, man, I want to come back here and just throw myself in this grass, because it just reminded me so much of like Psalm 23. I was seeing that grass. I'm like, who cares for this grass? Like, this grass just grows. And it's not like, I mean, it's wild, but it's not like so big or something that, hey man,
Like
you need to
perfect,
mow
like
it. It's
perfect
just
landscape.
perfect. And like, it's just there. There's no landscapers that need to come and care for it, you know? So it was so cool that this year I went back with, you know, some other friends, and we were reading Psalm 23 at that spot. And we were there for maybe like an hour. We just sat on the grass and, oh man, it was so beautiful. When I was doing it, I was crying, like I was bawling, because I was just reading over Psalm 23, you know, and Psalm 23 just reminded me, like, one is like how crazy David wrote this so long ago. And it still like stirs our hearts and connects us to God, right? I mean, it's just a deep prayer. But then he also wrote it in a time of stress, right? Because the first part is like, the Lord is my shepherd, and he makes me rest. Like, he is, I could just picture David walking in a place like that in the middle of the chaos. Like you're saying, sometimes the table is chaotic too. But in the middle of the chaos that David was going through, God brought him to a mountain or to some place where he saw this lake and had green pastures. It's like, wow, it's still waters. Because if it says it's still waters or still waters, it means that there was no, it's kind of like a lake, right? It's just glass and not a lot is going on, and it's quiet. And in that mountain, I could experience that. Like, I mean, every now and then an airplane would pass by, but other than that, it's peaceful, it's quiet. I'm like, this is what David experienced. Like, it had to have been something like this. It was so beautiful. And as I was reading just through Psalm 23, it was just so deep healing in my soul. It was just like, wow, there's so much power in this. You know, like, he makes me rest. And I was just resting, you know, and it's like all the heaviness of whatever might have been in the last few years or the last day or the last week or whatever I've experienced in my life is like, okay, this is a time where God is just saying, hey, look at this. I made it for you. I brought you here. You're resting. There's quietness. It's peaceful. And then the second part of Psalm 23, it talks about the enemies, right? So it's not like what David was going through. It's not like God removes you from the chaos and like, okay, you're not going to experience it anymore. But he says, you prepare a table in front of me, in front of my enemies. So it's like, wow. I mean, it's like God knows. And even in the middle of that, like, he sets a table, right? It's so crazy and so cool and so healing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, do you want to read it, or what was your plan?
let's read it. But one of the things, I saw this the other day, and this was just on the slide of a worship set. It said, what if feeling empty is the whole point? And I was like, well, what does that mean?
Recognize that we need him. Yeah.
Yeah. But then it hit me, like, okay, what if, and I wrote this down maybe a couple months ago, like, maybe the emptiness is revealing that you're not as close to Jesus as you thought you were. Or maybe the emptiness is because God really wants you to just rely on him or create space. And I think it's crazy to think, like, okay, what if feeling empty is not actually a bad thing? It's an invitation for the greater good of what the Lord has for you. And I do think it's unique that Psalms 23 goes from him being shepherd to him being the host of a table and all those little things of, okay, I feel helpless, I need rest, and then you prepare a table for me. But yeah, let's read it, and maybe we could break some things down. It says, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
I don't know if this is true, but I read somewhere that sheep wouldn't go near rushing waters because they were scared of it. So even to think the intentionality of God is that he leads us beside still waters. Like you said, it's like glass. And he gives us quiet safety, or he makes me lie down in green pastures. He gives us rest. But I like that it says, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Because in seasons that feel like a valley, or seasons that have lack, or seasons we don't know what he's doing, even though he's the good shepherd, it's not that he's just sending us into the valley alone and he's telling us to figure it out or I'll see you on the other side. It's that he's with us even in those moments. And I think it's hard to see him sometimes. Like, I know I would go home so many times towards the end of the school year or into the summer, and I would just get really frustrated with God. Be like, why do I feel so empty right now? But then it's starting to realize, okay, where are the places in this valley, or carrying grief for my family, this or that? Where are all those little things where he's actually just sitting in the midst of it with me? And thanking him for that. And then to the point of the table, like, you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Like, even though spiritually it might feel like there's a war raging around you, the fact that he's just inviting you to sit. And I mean, you anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. He gives us everything we could possibly need. I mean, even going to a soup kitchen, like, you could say in reality that that's a table he prepared, even though you had absolutely nothing like, that's a table he prepared to just invite you to feast. And how good is he that he's preparing more than we could possibly imagine in the littlest of ways. Or, I mean, in my situation, like, okay, I feel a lot of times the grief of not fully having family. And then all of a sudden he's providing all these different avenues of feeling family. It's like, I think God is just so intentional. And I think even to the other point of having a shared meal together is intentional. And I think it's just a beautiful place where you can see God. Yeah.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I think that's one thing we can have in common. I felt that, pretty often. And the other day, I just laid down in my living room on the floor, and I just asked God for forgiveness, because I realized that sometimes I feel that I'm not loved. And that's so wrong. He loves me so much.
Yeah.
And he proved that. Because even in the hardest places and saddest places I've been, he was there.
Yeah.
With me. So even that he took my mom, and I give thanks to God for that, because my mom was amazing. I learned a lot from her. She died when I was 14 years old, but she loved me so much. That was enough for me, 14 years, to know the real love that the mother can do for their kids. And because I experienced a lot of loss in my life. My dad, my uncles, like sometimes it's hard for me to receive his love.
Yeah.
And I just ask him to show me what I need to do, right? To forgive myself and allow myself to be loved by him. So what I did, I always go to the Bible. Like, I feel like I'm desperate right now. Nothing fulfills me. What is this? I feel empty. And I go to the Bible or I listen to some plants from the Bible, the Bible app.
Yeah.
And a lot of times fulfill me. Like, oh, thank you, Jesus, you're talking to me through this. But sometimes I don't find anything in the Bible.
Yeah.
So last time what I did, I had a conversation with Melody. And I went outside the house. And my daughter is only 10 years old. And I was like, God, I want to connect with my daughter. And I was intentional about it. And I had the best, beautiful time talking to her, being present. Because Melody's a gift from the Lord. I never thought I would have a family. And he gifted me with 3 kids. So at the end, Melody was next to me, hugging me. And she told me, Mommy, you're like a bear to me.
A bear?
Like a big bear. Oh, you're telling me that I'm fat? She just wants to hug me. So she wants to put her hand behind me.
Teddy bear.
And I feel like, no, Melody, because I'm squishing you. I feel weird. I don't like that. No, Mommy, but I like it because you're like my teddy bear. Like my bear. And I felt so loved. And I was like, thank you, Jesus, because you prove your love through my daughter. Right? And I accept that. How I'm going to let go to my daughter, I enjoyed that moment and I was fulfilled. Like, okay, I'm going to accept this love from you, which is hard. And for me, it's hard to rest too.
Yeah.
Beto, the other day, I was kind of telling him, like, why I'm resting. Beto, no, Millie, relax. Enjoy it. Just say it. Repeat with me. Right?
It's okay for me to rest.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and we can relate on that because, I think I said it, of receiving for me, and I think it's because of my upbringing, receiving for me feels nearly impossible. Like, you could tell me you love me, and I'll hear it, and I won't believe it. Like, there's so many things in my brain that I've convinced myself. I've shared this with the team. Like, I've convinced myself for some reason, and I'm getting over it, but I've convinced myself if I disappeared, none of them would really care. Like, there's this stronghold that the enemy has in my mind that won't let me receive affirmation, won't let me receive love. You guys have probably heard it from Joseph and have prayed for me, which thank you. You guys are a gift, but there's like a stronghold that the enemy has from my upbringing. So no matter what you tell me, I won't receive love. And it's something I'm walking through in counseling and all that little stuff. But one of the things that I've been learning is there's so much evidence that I am loved. Or there's so many ways all God ever does is provide the evidence for me that I am. If you think about what we just talked about, like being invited to a table is evidence that I'm loved. Or the way my athletes treat me is just pure evidence that I'm loved, right? And what it looks like to actually just sit and receive. I think Psalms 23 says you lead me, or you make me lie down in green pastures. Like, he provides the nourishment for our soul. Like, what does it look like to just pause and receive? And it might not be the ways we're expecting. When I first started hearing God's voice, and somebody told me, and I think I shared this on the last podcast, to go for a walk every day and ask God what he's saying over me. And for a week straight, the only thing I would hear is, Neil, I love you. And I would get so mad because I didn't want to hear that. I wanted to hear something else. But it's just, I think the way God works is he wants to fully know us, and he does fully know us, and he wants the ugly parts, and he wants to get into the mess and allow the simple, small things to just let us receive from him and let us receive through others. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's pretty important, because if I don't feel love, how I'm gonna love others?
Yeah.
So I don't have love by my own, especially with people who is always working so hard to frustrate me and, to be mad at them. Like, how you love people who's always challenging you? Only through the love of God, knowing that we are love and we have so much love to give others, right? So it's like
We went to a leadership conference, but it was just watching videos basically online, but together with other people. And one of the guys giving the conference was Kaka, which is a soccer player from Brazil. He's a little bit of an older generation, but he was super successful. And he was saying, what do you think is the difference with the coaching you got to be like a really awesome athlete and, win championships and all of that? And he said, I think the difference I see in the coaching I received was coaching with love. And it was like, so simple. Like when I was listening to him, like, man, like the idea of love, even yesterday, today we're recording right after the World Cup happened. And in the middle of the halftime show, they had a huge sign on the field that said love.
Yeah.
Right. And if you think of the Beatles, it's like love, like everybody, it's like the word that the whole world can probably agree on. Yeah, we all need more love. Like all you need is love, all these things. And it's so simple. Yet I feel like with Kaka's example, it was almost like it's so simple, but apply it, right? That's the hard part. But when you apply it, and especially like in your case, you're a coach. So if you're gonna pour into somebody without love, really, what are you pouring into, right? And I think that's what Kaka was trying to get at, is like, what I received was coaching, but with love, like somebody that was like encouraging me and maybe challenging me, but with I don't know, positive hard attitude, or loving hard attitude, which is great. And I think, that's maybe why in your case, like being a coach, which is, I mean, it's part of what you do, right? Even though it may not be your primary identity, but as part of what you do, maybe that's why you feel a constant attack from the enemy, because it's like, yeah, if you don't love those who you are coaching, then the enemy, it's winning in a sense, right? So to get that affirmation on yourself that, wow, I'm loved, like I love you, like God is saying, I love you, Neil. It's huge, because then like you're filled with the love and you can pass it on in your coaching and maybe even beyond, right? Because love is bigger than just like, winning a race or
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That sometimes we forget what is happening in the spiritual realm, right? That we are a huge target.
Yeah.
Huge. Because the youth is the one, they're craving for God. They don't know, but they're looking into the world too, right?
Yeah.
And it's such a special season in their lives because they're looking for their identity.
Yeah.
So they can look in wrong places.
Yeah. And what you were saying at the beginning was kind of like that idea that, you wanted to be more transparent. And that reminded me, like our Pastor Mike, he always says, like people relate more to your failures than they do to your successes. And I'm like, that's an interesting idea, because like even in the podcasting world for me, like there's this guy named Erwin McManus, a pastor in LA. He always say people don't care about like your podcast. They care about like their journey and how you might maybe inspire them or how you might relate to what they're going through, right? And in a sense, I feel like, I mean, apart from the table, which is kind of like the actual interaction you have with people, like one-on-one, and I feel like, to me, how like my passion in life is hopefully to inspire people, you know, but inspiring to me is just pointing them to the source and saying, like, Jesus is the source, right? Like, I cannot transform anyone, but that's my passion with, like, this whole thing with cameras and having you on here and talking about the table, is that hopefully somebody listens to this and relates to what's going on, right? It's not like, hey, look at me, how I read Psalm 23 and now I have it all figured out. No, it's like, man, I needed restoration for my soul, and I encountered it through the word, through people, through God's love, so that other people can see the example and say, oh, if it happened to them, maybe it can happen to me. That's really what inspiration means, right? And in that sense, I feel like that's kind of like also part of maybe the coaching is like, or maybe in your specific case, you know, it's people saying, wow, if Neil can be so transparent, maybe so can I, right? Or if God is healing Neil even through this like hard, you know, situation with his family, maybe there's hope for my situation with my family, right? And now people can start like maybe trusting God more, and I feel like that's when like maybe faith can be ignited, and people are like, oh wow, like pray for me. I'm going through this, and maybe you've been through it before. Would you pray for me? You know, so now like the hope starts like making a spark, and I think that's the cool thing, and I think that's my whole like this conversation. You know, hopefully, you know, and whoever's listening, it's funny, right? But maybe type it in the comments, like, how is God using you in your own journey? You know, because that's really why we do this and why we want to inspire other people. And we may not be able to walk with them or sit with them on an actual table, but they have their own tables that they're going through, and where God might be inspiring them to hope and to purpose. Right?
Yeah. Thank you for being humble and telling the truth, because that inspires me to keep doing what I'm doing. You know, I was afraid before to open my house to everybody because some experience I had in the past. But I'm not going to keep that fear on me, because God, at the end of the day, everything bad that happened to me will turn to my good. Right? So this time, the bad experience I had, give me more real power. You know, like the power of Jesus Christ is in me. So I'm not afraid, and I let people come into my life. And it's been beautiful to see how God is working, you know. We want to receive some friends from next week from Switzerland. And I'm so excited because last year we're here, and for the first time in their lives, they went to a church. And the little kid want to have communion. And he's like, how I can do that? I explain him, just if you believe in Jesus Christ and you think he's God, you can go and receive communion. So he did. And he was like, oh, Mom, I can't believe it. I did my first communion in the U.S. And they're coming back. And they have family here in Costa Mesa, and they prefer to stay in my house. And it's a lot of work. But I thought, come on, baby. Let me show you who is Jesus, right? Because it's not me. It's the love of God through me and through my family. And for me, it's an honor, right? And to see the new chapter of Neil coaching, I'm excited to see. Oh, Neil, because what you're doing in these kids is huge. I mean, I hear from everybody, parents, kids, they hate running, but they're there because you help them to create a good friendship and they're working through their drama because it's drama. If you're going to be close to someone, it's going to be some things that you don't want to say and, drama. But at the end of the day, if it's love there, it's nothing that you can fix in God.
Yeah.
He allowed us to pass that problem to be transformed.
Yeah.
Because that's why God is always giving us challengings. When we were talking about Psalms 23 and how He worked on our hearts and He give us peace. And I'm just remembering the disciples, when they finish giving food and they collect the 12 baskets of food, God sent them into the ocean.
Yeah.
Really, God? You just, explain them and they saw this beautiful miracle that we're still today talking about. And He sent them to the ocean to have some struggle. Right?
It's true.
And He's like, and then our pastor, Mike Decker, was saying, and they superstitious. They know who's God. They know Jesus. And they're looking far away like a ghost is coming. What? And you guys believe in God or with the spirits, right? That's crazy that their culture probably, right, show up there. So they knew was Jesus. I was like, experience through experience through experience, Jesus is only teaching us, right?
Yeah.
And we just need to focus always on who He is.
Yeah.
And believe that He's for us. And and that you have a beautiful community. I mean, Pacifica is gorgeous. We offer you our family. We always praying for you with my kids too, because we know that we all need that.
Yeah.
Working for the kingdom of God is always, we're always going to be on target.
Yeah.
But the devil is defeated. So
Yeah.
sorry, just we need to kick you out every day
Sure.
of our lives. Every day, like, not today, Satan, get out of here, because God wins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe, it's like I'm aware of this, but I don't think I've thought about it until you said it, is that maybe because of where God has me, I'm under so much more attack of investing in their lives. Well, the enemy is going to come for me because he doesn't want that. But it is fascinating to think like, okay, if as a coach I want to love them and inspire them to be like Jesus, well, then I also have to do that myself, is receive the love of God and be like Jesus so that they can see. And if my team could see Coach Neil loves God and that's who he's in pursuit of, then maybe they'll do the same thing. And I think I'm going to share this in our meeting on Wednesday, but like my whole goal is at the end of the day that the athletes know they're loved no matter what they do. Whether they're my number 1 athlete or my number 34 athlete, is that at the end of the day, no matter how they perform, no matter what they do, I love them and their parents love them. And I think even going back to the first thing you said in raising teenagers, like at the end of the day, which your kids do, but do your kids know that mom and dad love you? Because I think I've witnessed a lot of kids now in this high school phase of life will start to wrestle with, well, if I don't do this, mom and dad aren't going to be proud of me. Or if I don't do this, mom and dad won't love me, or things like that. It's like, I think the whole point of the kingdom as parents is to show them the love of Jesus. And are you doing that well through the way you're raising them? Like, do they know that you're loved? Do they know that they're loved by you? And is that coming from a place of you being loved by God? I think I also want to stay in that framework as a coach of like, okay, do they know that I love them? Yes. And do they know that I'm receiving the love of God? I'm trying, and I hope so. So Yeah.
So, and we need to be careful, okay? Because sometimes they're like, Mommy, but God is merciful. So they're begging me for mercy, right? And I'm like, yes, but the consequences, you need to have them. I forgive you, but this is what you need to do now, right?
Millie's a little harsh with consequences. No, but it's good. That's so good, man. It's wonderful, beautiful. When you said it's kind of like wrapping it up with the idea when you said sharing a meal. I think that's what I look for with, like, especially with our family, with our kids. Like, I love, that Joseph, runs and breaks records and he's super committed. Like, I'm all for, like, be diligent,
Yeah.
like, get up and do the hard things and, overcome challenges. Like, all of that is great. But I think if there's anything that I look forward with my family is like, can we have a meal together? And sometimes, like we were saying at the beginning, it doesn't necessarily, it's like every day, especially here in America, there's a lot of things going on. We try to, sit down together as much as we can. But really, some of my favorite times is like sometimes Sundays, we go and have brunch. And especially because Millie is a super hard worker, right? So whenever we're at the house, I know Millie will be serving. And it's great, and it's part of her, joy of being a mom and serving the family. But I feel like some Sundays, when we go eat somewhere else, I'm just so happy that we can all sit down, and Millie can be served too, and be just part of the conversation, and we can all talk. And it kind of reminds me, growing up, maybe those were some of the best times of my life. Just remembering, like, even my parents went through divorce too. But if I remember anything about my family before the divorce was that every now and then we would go have, lunch together on a Sunday. And, as broken as the family was or whatever, I think that was a memory that I feel like I still think of it, like with a happy face, like a happy emoji. I don't think like, oh no, but we were struggling or whatever. No, it's like, that was cool.
Yeah.
So that's what I look forward, so yeah, continue with the success and everything, but it's just so cool to come back to the table.
Yeah.
And I think also the idea in the Bible is that one day, like, Jesus is seated at the throne or in heaven, and he's preparing a table for us.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
He's
Wow,
preparing
that
a
is
table.
huge. That's true.
So that's the idea, that one day we're
Wow.
sitting at this huge table
Yeah.
with Jesus.
Wow.
That's like the ultimate.
And I mean, even to go back to that whole moment, like in this season, the highlight in the last month or so of my weeks has not been coaching. It has not been work. I love work, but sometimes painting and fixing things is a lot. But I think the highlight for me, like, it's not about all the records or all the training, or because my brain is constantly on that. Like, I'm thinking about all the time how to care for these athletes and do all this stuff. And I spent so much time with the team. But the highlight of my week, as much as we train together, has become sitting down at breakfast with your kid and reading a book together. Because we don't talk about sports. Sometimes we do, but it's not anything performance-based. It's not anything success-based. It's just life shared together. And there's a richness there. So, yeah, I mean, maybe the whole point of the podcast is
What
to
a
get around the table.
privilege. What a privilege, and thank you for that, but for inspiring us to do the same thing. We all can do that.
Yeah.
We all can grab someone, and you're giving your time, but also you're receiving, right? When it's from God, you will receive. So funny thing, the way, my English, it's not that great, and I'm still learning and improving. But that's how I learned to speak in English. I sat down with someone and preparing food for this person and her family. She's a woman. For 7 years. she she will bring everything I need to cook for them. But I have food for them and for my kids. And meanwhile, I was only speaking in English so many hours and always around the table. So the table is a special place to learn
Yeah.
anything you want. Can be a language, can be cooking, or just having relationships, So beautiful.
Cool. Well, that's it.